Welcome to Flash Fantasy. Today we'll be breaking down our top 10 wide receivers to help you win your league in a flash.
Top 10 wide receivers.
Number 6 for me. Now I'm cheating a little bit here, guys, because I can't take one and put it over the other. But it's a Tampa Bay wide receiver. It's one or the other. It's either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, but both of them are not hitting my top 10. Just number 6. And if I had to put money on it, I'm going Chris Godwin. So for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna put Chris Godwin at number 6. And I just don't. So Tom Brady, like we spoke about earlier, phenomenal talent, probably one of the greatest of all time quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback to play the game. But I just don't see him producing 2 top 10 wide receivers, and the talent that they have there. I definitely see one flourishing and one hitting outside the top 10 for sure. But yeah, Bruce Arians loves throwing the ball. Tom Breeze loves hitting his wide receivers in stride and in those like slant routes and letting them go upfield with it. And I think Chris Godwin has the better chance of taking those small little plays and making the most out of them. Mike Evans, he's known for his yards per target, of having those big bombs and using his physical body to get up and go grab them. So I think Tom Brady's more of a poised player that likes to sit in the pocket and throw those dimes, put it right on the money, and Chris Godwin could take them and take it to the house. But yeah, I think that's who I'm going to go with. Is overall my pick is a Tampa Bay wide receiver to finish 6th, but if I got to be specific, I'm going with Chris Godwin.
Man, the number 6 spot, like Josh mentioned earlier, 6 through 10 or 5 through 10, it just gets weird, guys. Like, it's so many debatable spots that could be filled with debatable wide receivers. And so with that being said, I'm going to say Amari Cooper. All right, Amari Cooper at my number 6 because he finished 10th in points in a PPR format amongst wide receivers. Okay, one of the biggest things that is compelling to me is the fact that he did. He now has a 5-year contract for $100 million. It's very interesting to see how all of the things that's going on in Dallas right now with Dak Prescott, his money, and Amari Cooper finally getting a decent contract. I just think that with Dak and Amari in the position that they're in, they have to do amazing. They have to do amazing. And so with these being 2 young guys, I just have a solid amount of expectation when it comes to performance this year. And these are one of these picks where it's not so much about Amari, it's more about the quarterback and the offensive situation, because honestly, Amari Cooper wasn't that impressive in when they were the Oakland Raiders. That's just my opinion. He wasn't somebody that you could rely on every single week for every single game. Not only from a fantasy perspective, but also just from a football perspective. Like Oppie mentioned, he dealt with some drops. He was getting locked down, different times. But I think with him going to Dallas, that was the best thing that ever happened to him, because now he has been awakened. The real Amari Cooper has been awakened, and we can see the performance really pick up and be more consistent. So yeah, that's my number 6 spot.
So it's about time that we disagree, bro. It's about time. It was nice while it lasted. But number 6, I'm going to have to go with one side of what Jason was talking about in regards to Chris Godwin. I think his production is going to look very similar to what was going on with Edelman last year. I think he's going to be the favorite target for Brady. I know Brady's going to have nostalgic moments where he's getting the ball to Gronk, and it's like, hey, I remember this in New England, but now we're in better weather. But I think it's going to be a strong rapport between him and Chris Godwin. I think even though like there's a lot of mouths to feed, I think that's going to be the person that Brady has to depend on the most. I think a lot of the times Chris Godwin lines up in the slot. And again, that's one of his favorites. Like what we were mentioning in regards to like people being important for third down, like conversions and things like that. I think Chris Godwin is going to be the one that he leans on the most. I think Brady's going to do a great job of feeding everybody though. Like their offense is going to be something special to watch. But I think Chris Godwin at number 6, that's where I have the guy. So
wow. Chris Godwin, huh? Guys,
follow suit.
I'm not going to follow suit. He's there, but not there. That was 6, guys. It's going to be a shocker pick right here, but I got to go with my man, Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham going to have a second season with Cleveland Browns. Let's just look at these numbers last year. And I didn't even know he put up these numbers, and this is a down season for him. 1,035 yards, 74 receptions, and 4 touchdowns. I could have swore he didn't catch one ball last season. Everything was going wrong. Everybody projected him to be to make it to the playoffs. They finished 6-10, I believe, or 5-11. I don't know, something like that. And guys, 1,000 yards. For a down season, I'll take that any day of the week. Especially, I need a New England player to give me 1,000 yards, and I'll take this any day of the week. And why I have Odell high on my list? This is it for Odell. You put up or shut up, but this is it. If he doesn't have a good season, I think that elite status that he has on his name. When you think about elite wide receivers, you think about Odell Beckham. He's up in that conversation. I mean, the guy had 35 touchdowns his first 3 seasons. Ridiculous catches, playing with an old Eli Manning. And I think this is it. This is it for Odell Beckham and his golden mohawk. I think it's time to shine. I was just reading something that he said he's stronger, faster, and this is going to be his best season ever, dude. And that's scary. For someone to make those comments, he was dealing with a couple of injuries. He said – 3rd week of the preseason, he tore a little muscle in his abs, shoulders, injuries, and all that's heating up. If you guys don't follow Odell Beckham on Instagram, but the guy's putting his work this offseason, doing a lot of Pilates, doing a lot of stretching. He's looking good, man, and I think that it's crazy all these trade rumors after his first season, but I think he's just ready to silence the critics and get back to the form he was. And again, his comments were, I think this is going to be the best season you're going to see out of me. And I think this year is the most, out of all the receivers on this list, this is the most important year for any wide receiver. Julio can have a down season and say, hey, I put up 10 great seasons. Michael Thomas, I was like, he's been there, done that. But this is it, Odell. I mean, this is a Hall of Fame season for Odell. Let's just put it like that. He has an off season. I think he's out that conversation as a Hall of Famer. But this guy comes back and puts a monster season, and the Browns are in the playoffs. Odell's back in that conversation as one of the greatest wide receivers in the game today, and it's going to help him out in the future with a Hall of Fame thing. But we need to see the rookie season, Odell Beckham. That's what we need to see, and I think he's capable of doing it this season.
Yeah, I think he was capable of it last year. I think Baker's the issue, bro. I don't think it's him.
He didn't mesh well, man. I just think the high expectations and everybody was just Odell. I don't know if you saw Odell was crying as always. He kicked. I don't know. He might have kicked the net again. Was running to his head coach, bumping heads with them. I think they got a new head coach this year, right? So
right.
We'll see. I just think he needs to mature, obviously, and I think this is the year that we're going to see a lot of maturity from him. If not, he'll be somewhere else next year. Maybe with the Jets.
Maybe with the Jets, he says. Well, I just so I don't have Odell in my top 10, but I think he has that talent and skill as a wide receiver. If we were doing a top 10 wide receiver list of NFL skill play, NFL just wide receivers, yeah, he would be that top 10 for sure. But fantasy value with Odell and the Browns as a whole, he's right outside the top 10. And like you said, he did have 1,035 yards. He had 133 targets, which you love to see, but only 74 receptions. And that's where like the drop off comes for me. I think Baker could do a lot better with his targeting and with his accuracy. Phenomenal talent like Baker Mayfield, but like he was a first overall pick for a reason. He came in and blew up the league, and since then has been pretty quiet except for his ads with Hulu. So I think we just need to see less commercials and more play from Baker Mayfield to actually have some confidence in OBJ. He only had 4 touchdowns last year too. If that number goes up, I could see his stock rise up a little bit more. But I think you made a great point, Oppie. So recap with our number 6 is Chris Godwin. I chose Chris Godwin. Norris chose Amari Cooper. Josh actually chose somebody different with Chris Godwin, and Oppie with Odell Beckham Jr. So let's go to our number 7 pick, where I have Kenny Golladay. But Kenny Golladay had a 1,200-yard season, and that's with Matthew Stafford being hurt. He was still the wide receiver 1 on the team, and he put up over 1,000 yards easily. And I think he's been able to do that easily for the last couple of years now. Now he's only in his 3rd year as a wide receiver. He's not the whole team as a whole isn't that old. So he finished 9th overall last year. And just for you guys stat buffs out there, he had 10.26 yards per target, 18.31 yards per catch. I mean, that's fantastic. And he's that guy that can take the small thing. What I love from a wide receiver is that they can take a small target and make it into a big play. And that's Kenny Golladay all day. He has the speed, he has the agility, and he had 11 touchdowns last year with, like I said, with subpar quarterbacks throwing him the ball. So I think if we can get more than 8 games with Matthew Stafford, what else can we see from Kenny Golladay? So I think Kenny Golladay overall is my number 7 for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting spot for Kenny Golladay, the young man. But I'm going with Chris Godwin on this one because he finished number 2 in PPR points amongst wide receivers. That's with 276 points. And 3rd in touchdowns with 9 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards. And now he has Tom Brady throwing him the ball. I could have made the case for Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is dealing with, different injuries and whatnot. And I just think with Chris Godwin, seeing how he plays, he's able to do multiple things as far as like not relying so much on only going for the deep balls, the way that we see Mike Evans have to rely on that type of, throw or situation. So he had 120 targets, and I just think he should be in the top 10. Again, you're dealing with a loaded offense, and we spoke about it earlier, the receiving core that they have right now. So it is tough to have a solid number 1 piece out there on the offense, but I think that Chris Godwin is the more reliable guy from a fantasy perspective, because we see games with Mike Evans where he, gives you less than 10 points in multiple games. So I just think that with him finishing number 2 last year with the not so great Jameis Winston and to upgrade to Tom Brady, I think that things will go well for him, even with, him having multiple different receivers in his way.
Sounds good. I'm not too sure why you guys looked at Jason like he was wild. Like Kenny Golladay at 7 is actually solid, and that's where I have him. for him to finish wide receiver 9, and just like what he mentioned, half the season with his starting quarterback, he had 1,190 yards, 65 receptions. And again, he had Stafford for half a year. Then he had, I don't even know the guy's first name, but his last name was Blau. And then Driscoll. Like, these are guys that, who are they? And he still finished number 9. So for him to be able to have this opportunity where, like, he's going to come back into the year after having 116 targets with 3 different quarterbacks, I think going up 2 spots, or he can honestly finish a little bit above that if he's able to have Stafford the whole year. So I definitely agree with you, Jason. I think there's a chance for him to be even higher than this. But I believe number 7 is a solid spot to keep him, 2 spots higher than where he finished the year prior. So that's where I have him, number 7, Kenny Golladay.
Dennis, Josh and Jason pick Golladay as 7. I know. Crazy. Crazy. All right, I'll call you back. Hold on, let me school him real quick. All right, guys. I think Golladay at 7 is a little too high just because Marvin Jones put up some good numbers there too last year. Let's not forget that. Remember that game? I think Marvin Jones had like 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, the ball's getting distributed evenly there. Maybe slightly more to Golladay, but it's a little too high. I do have Golladay up here, though. But number 7, guys, it's just like, this is what I think. You have Golladay or you have my number 7, Stephon Diggs. Who you going with? You going Diggs or you going Golladay?
You just heard what I went with.
I'm Diggs up. All right? Guys, Diggs is a problem, all right? Diggs is now with the Bills this year, right? He has Josh Allen. I don't know if you saw Josh Allen's pro day at the Combine, but that guy has a cannon, all right? He ain't no Mertz Fluzzins over here. Talk about your boy Kirk Cousins. I think this is Stephon Diggs' season, guys. I mean, he doesn't have to share the ball with Thielen anymore. You know what I'm saying? He's clearly the number 1 guy at Buffalo. He doesn't have – remember, he doesn't have Cousins. I don't know if about you guys, but Cousins in prime time, no good. Monday night, Sunday night, no good. That is proven. I think he won his first primetime game last season. And, I'm going to tell you something. I think the East I think this is going to be the first year the Patriots might not make it up. But I think Buffalo's a team to beat in the East, and I think Diggs is going to be a huge factor in Buffalo, and I just think he's going to be up there. I mean, we're talking about 1,100 yards, over 1,100 yards, 63 receptions. So that just tells you the guy is a deep threat guy. You know what I'm saying? So you got somebody with a cannon in the arm, and you're running deep threats. He averaged 18 yards per receptions. 18 yards, guy, almost 20 yards of reception, guys. You do the math. 5 catches for 20 yards. He had a 100-yard game every single game. And I just think right now, this is Allen's. I think Allen's 3rd year, right? He had just made the postseason last year as a sophomore, and Allen almost went to the quarterfinals. Remember, Houston came back from a 30-point deficit to come back and beat Buffalo Bills. So that just goes to show you that Buffalo Bills team they're hungry. They got something to prove now. And what Allen's been doing with them the last 2 seasons is incredible. And Allen can move in the pocket too, guys. Allen's a mobile quarterback with a cannon of an arm. And I see Stephon Diggs being a great fit for his organization. A wide receiver they haven't had, and I can't even name the wide receiver they had. That's pretty good. Terrell Owens, but he was 45, 6 years old, doing sit-ups under his bed. So I think right now Diggs at 7 is one of the most secure picks. And now you're about to see Diggs be the number 1 for the first time in his career. So Diggs at 7, guys.
All right. So you've disrespected my man Kirk Cousins, and I can't stand for it. No, that's not his name. Kirk Cousins. You like that. You
Like-
like that.
Yeah.
Oh
Murphy.
my.
Kirk Cousins. And I'm about to show you something you got to like. All right. Man has thrown for over 3,000 yards since 2015. Has Josh Allen done that? No.
He's never had a receiver like Diggs.
Man has thrown for over 25 touchdowns since 2015. Has Josh Allen done that?
Had a wide receiver like Diggs.
Man threw 6 interceptions last year. Josh Allen threw 9.
It's a wide receiver list.
So, it's a wide receiver list, but you disrespect Kirk Cousins, you disrespect me.
You know, I think the fact that you're even comparing the two is even more of a disgrace to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
The fact that you're even comparing the two doesn't say anything great about Kirk Cousins. So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, Kirk Cousins. I'm just saying. Kirk Cousins.
Playoffs last season? No, they didn't.
Okay. And
Bills did. I'm just saying.
what I'm talking about, we're talking about fantasy wide receivers, and you're over here
And I'm talking about Diggs being the absolutely beast of a guy, all right? That's what I'm talking about.
Josh Allen having a cannon, which he
Josh
obviously
Allen is the white Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Yes.
Quote
That's
it.
it. That's it.
Quote it. Who said it
That's it.
first? He did.
That's it. Mr. Franco. I don't know.
How they know.
Maybe Oppie and I will have a whole another video where we debate Kirk Cousins versus Josh Allen, y'all.
Please don't.
Comment down below if you want to see something like that. Anyways, quick recap. Number 7, Kenny Galladay for myself. Number 7 for Norris is Chris Godwin.
Josh Allen will have a better season than Kirk Cousins.
Number 7 for Josh is Kenny Galladay. Number 7 for the man I'll never ever be on the show again, Oppie.
Oh
Stephon.
my goodness.
I'm just kidding, y'all. He's part of the fantasy football crew. I can get rid of him if I wanted to. All right, so let's move on to number 8 before I have a mental breakdown of Josh Allen. Number 8 for me, this is where I put Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper only fell to 8 for me. His talent is phenomenal. I mean, Oppie, I think you put him in your number 5, and I think he has that talent. I think he could definitely be top 5. The only reason I dropped him a little bit lower is because of the different talent that's in Dallas right now. Like we talked about earlier, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, even Blake Jarwin. Zeke's going to catch some passes. So I think overall Dallas is going to see a lot. But one thing going for Amari Cooper to secure this top 10, not only his talent, but Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is known for throwing the ball and not giving it too much to the running back. Even with Zeke there, Zeke's going to get fed. Like we talked, you can check out our top 10 running back list where we talk about Zeke in extended detail. But, I think Amari Cooper overall will have a great year. And that's why the only reason he's at number 8 is just because of so many mouths to feed in Dallas this year.
Okay, number 8. So number 8, I'm going with the other Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp at my number 8. I really like the guy. I want to give the asterisks or concerns first. In his, career thus far, he's played in 39 games, but started 24. And it's just, he's dealt with, the injury and different things like that can be concerning. And honestly, I mean, outside of last year, it's not too much to go off of. But one of the reasons why I like him is because, even after last year, after week 8, he had that 200-plus yard performance, had multiple touchdowns and whatnot. And after that, he had 0 100-yard games for the rest of the season. That's a bit concerning. But the thing is in the final 5 games of the season, he finished with a touchdown in each of the last 5 games. So, he makes up for things that he lacks with the touchdowns. And, I mean, when you see a guy like Cooper Kupp, who is, honestly is a great route runner, he can be in the slot, he can be on the outside and be effective with receiving the ball. Last year, he had 134 targets. That's a good number, 94 receptions, over 1,100 yards. He finished fourth, in PPR points amongst wide receivers and whatnot with 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns, guys. One of the names that was brought up earlier, Kenny Golladay, he's great, but when I just look at catch percentage and different things, that you have Danny Amendola and Marvin Jones and TJ Hockenson, all these guys that's doing great. I like the situation that Cooper Kupp is in. Matthew Stafford, he's I don't want to get too deep into making the comparisons, but again, when you look at Matthew Stafford's dealing with back injuries. We're not talking about no broken toe or something like that. Like, the older you get, the longer it takes for your back to heal. Oppie might be able to tell you something about that. But Cooper Kupp, when you have guys like Jared Goff, Jared Goff is just, I think he's a better quarterback or better choice at quarterback than Matthew Stafford. But yeah, Cooper Kupp at my number 8 spot.
Word. So we're back on the same page, Norris. I got Cooper Kupp at number 8. I think with Brandon Cooks being gone, going to Houston, that frees up 72 targets.
Mm-hmm.
A good percentage of those targets are definitely going to Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp was able to do what you just mentioned. He was very close, to get it. I won't say that he was very close to getting into that 100 reception club, but I think with 72 more targets to go around, I think he can make it into that. And so I think he was actually only 6 receptions away. That's what I've written down. So I think his yards can definitely see an uptick. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the offense does move. Their O-line is trash. I'm not sure what they did to beef that up during the draft. I know they went with a running back in the first round, but or with their first pick that they had. So I think he's going to have a solid opportunity. They're going to have to throw a bunch. I think they're going to be behind a good bit for most of the teams they go against. But I think Cooper Kupp is going to be a solid top 10 option. He's going to have more catches this year than he did last year. And last year, like Norris said, was a breakout year for him. There's nothing else to really go based off of in terms of the years before that, in terms of what it could look like this year. But I do believe that it's going to be a solid year for the guy, Cooper Kupp.
Right. Regarding my back noise, the reason why my back is bad is because I've been carrying my fantasy football team to the postseason every season, and that load is taking a tear on me, all right? But I'm going to go with, and this is a no-brainer, guys. This is a no-brainer here. Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. It's clearly that Chris Godwin is the safer pick here in the Buccaneers core. The guy's a beast. He's been getting better every single week. He's been improving. Tom Brady under center is just going to be smart, and those two are just going to develop something very special. Tom Brady has another 2 years. I know my brother Dennis last year, he had Godwin on his team. I knew very little about him, but every time I seen Dennis, it's like Godwin's going off. He goes off early to win games. That's a good thing about Godwin. He starts the games out strong. To compare him to Edelman, I think Godwin has much more speed, much more talent than Edelman. I don't see it more of a route runner. I could see some deep balls going his way too. Mike Evans is obviously top. Listen, that whole Buccaneers thing, that whole offense is ridiculous, and that just speaks volumes. And Godwin's the safe bet here and the safe pick from Buccaneers. Age plays also a factor. Evans been in the league for some time now too, not too long, but. Godwin's the young, fresher one, and I think last season was the staple for him to be one of those elite wide receivers.
Yeah, I think that's solid. I think Chris Godwin is the better choice than Mike Evans. The only reason I would deter between the two is just the extreme talent on the overall team. Mike Evans being a producing wide receiver for years. So recap for our 8th pick. I chose Amari Cooper, Norris with Cooper Kupp, Josh with Cooper Kupp, and Oppie with Chris Godwin. And just so you guys a little like update, I guess Chris Godwin has made 6, 7, and 8 on our picks. So I think overall solid wide receiver through the rankings. For him to be in all of our top 10s is somebody that you definitely want to like look and try and target throughout your draft. So for number 9, I mean, he's already been talked about a little bit, but I have Cooper Kupp at my number 9. Again, with Brandon Cooks leaving, there could be some targets going to him. But what I like about Cooper Kupp is the massive upside. What makes him go down to number 9 for me is that there's the injury risk. There's also the not so much the quarterback play, but Jared Goff can have these off games. But I mean, it's so interesting that Cooper Kupp can play one game and have like 4 targets for like 56 yards, maybe a touchdown, and that's fine. And then have another game where he has 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns the next week and destroy you in fantasy. Yeah, destroy you. It hurts. Anyways.
It hurts.
But yeah, I think
Martin Mullins.
I think Cooper Kupp. Don't make me go off about Kirk Cousins again. I will defend that man. Anyways, Cooper Kupp is my number 9, simply because I think he's overall great talent. He has super upside, and he's finished as a top 10 wide receiver twice now. So I think we just have to hope that he can remain and keep healthy.
Yeah. So with my number 9 spot, I really like this guy. Really like this guy. Some people may question it because of the quarterback situation, but I have Keenan Allen at my number 9 spot in receivers today. So for the past 3 seasons, he had over 1,300 yards with 6 touchdowns. The following season, he had 1,100 plus yards with 6 touchdowns. Last year, you guessed it, he was 1 yard shy away from having 1,200 yards, and he had 6 touchdowns. That's just, I mean, with the amount of opportunities that he gets per game, I really think there is a level of not meeting a super satisfying amount of, I guess, receptions per game or yards per game, because he gets, 10, 11, 12, and 13 targets per game. Like, that's pretty common for him. But that's with Phillip Rivers. Now he has Tyrod Taylor. But the thing is, Justin Herbert from Oregon is 6'6", and he is throwing it out of the stadium. So I don't think that there should be much concern. I mean, if it were only Tyrod Taylor back there, I would be concerned, and I would not have put Keenan Allen in the 9th or 10th spot. But, with the quarterback situation, I'm not concerned about it. I think that kid is going to end up taking over that spot, because we know that Tyrod Taylor is not a bona fide starter. So enough said about him. I have Keenan Allen at my number 9.
All right. My number 9, I need y'all to just hear me out, because it's probably not a popular opinion. Juju Smith-Schuster.
I knew it.
So realistically, with a healthy Big Ben for the whole season, this offense is drastically different. Last year, total dud of a year. But if you look back to 2018, 166 targets, 111 receptions, 1,400 yards, and that's a rookie Juju behind AB. So now if he saw 166 targets with AB there, and now that he's number 1, there's an uptick with every single thing that you saw there. So he's going to have more than 111 receptions, more than 1,400 yards, And he was also, I think he was second in terms of like percentage that he was targeted in the red zone behind only Zach Ertz in that year. And so again, like he's so heavily relied upon. And Big Ben throws the ball like 40 times a game when he's healthy. 40 times. So they do have Claypool, who's going to be a solid little option. They have that Johnson kid that's out there as well. And we'll see what happens with these running backs. But I think if Juju is healthy and Big Ben is healthy, he's going to be a top 10 receiver. And that was the same thing that we were hearing from, like, in terms of other people making projections the year before Big Ben got hurt. So in 2018, coming into 2019, you were hearing the same things. Okay, Juju Smith is going to break out even more than what he already did. He's going to be a top 10 guy. I think that same projection can now be placed again. And if we have a healthy Big Ben, Juju Smith is in there, top 10 for sure.
I'm going to disagree with that big time. You know why? Because Juju Smith was my second round pick, and the guy did horrible.
You heard who got hurt, right? You heard that, right? You heard that, right?
I'm gonna break it. I just don't see him. Big Ben is coming. He's getting old. He's not as mobile as he used to be. I mean, that offense. What are you, James Conner? Really? They're gonna go to lose sleep over James Conner? So what does that mean? He's a one-dimensional now. He has one wide receiver. Man, Juju did not shine at all last season. At all. But hey, we disagree, buddy. But number 9, this is going to be it's not a surprise. Everybody had him on this, but I'm going to go with Kenny Galladay. And I'm going to read something right here. This is where things get interesting. You know, Calvin Johnson, remember the great Calvin Johnson? And Calvin Johnson's first 3 seasons with the Detroit Lions, right? Go. Calvin Johnson, definitely go. He had 21 touchdowns. In Galladay's 3 full seasons, 19. That means Kenny Galladay, without Matthew Stafford for half the season, was on pace to pass Calvin Johnson in touchdowns. And that's amazing. Calvin Johnson is a legend. And to think that they're pulling up the same numbers as Calvin Johnson as far as touchdowns, I don't know to me, but that sounds Mr. Reliable to me. And man, it's just amazing. Amazing that this guy's putting up numbers, and it's like Detroit, they probably got the next Calvin Johnson in hand, and they got to protect this baby. Keep Matthew Stafford, keep him healthy, because if they have a healthy Matthew Stafford, Galladay is going to put up some numbers, man. And I got Galladay at number 9. There's nothing else to be said. Is that this guy's amazing, and he's already putting up numbers like Calvin Johnson. So.
Yeah, I can't disagree as a whole, but I don't know if Kenny Galladay is the next Calvin Johnson. That's the only thing I'm a little shaky on, but he's a beast.
Last stats don't, Jason. That's all I gotta say.
All right. I think Kenny Galladay can be that wide receiver 1 in your team and produce. And he's a guy that you can pick up in the 4th round sometimes, and he'll carry your team. Yeah, 4th round sometimes. So quick recap for number 9, Cooper Kupp. I chose Cooper Kupp. Norris had Keenan Allen. Josh with Juju Smith-Schuster, and Oppie with Kenny Galladay. So Norris, I'm 1 behind you on this one, but I'm keeping with it. Is Keenan Allen. The quarterback. Keenan Allen and the Chargers as a whole was probably one of the hardest teams for me to stat out. But I have Keenan Allen projected at 218 points on the year, which puts him right inside wide receiver 10 to 12. But again, he's one of those wide receivers that you can get him the ball in these slant routes or quick routes, and he can take it upfield. And he has the speed and the agility. I mean, dude, if he's healthy, he can break ankles. I mean, just snap them off. And it's incredible to see what Keenan Allen can do as a whole. But yeah, I think, like you said too, if it was just Tyrod, I would have a different outlook on it. But with Justin Herbert there, potentially taking over, even if Justin Herbert takes over half the season, I think he can build that rapport with Keenan. But you'll definitely hear me talk about some other Chargers wide receivers here in a little bit.
Okay. So this number 10 spot, it was tricky because honestly, a lot of people are like right outside of it.
So Josh has the same pick.
I'm going with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson the second at my number 10 because, you know, Kenny Golladay was a guy that I was looking at, and I'm just not convinced. You know, I might have to eat my words come by the end of the, you know, next year. But I picked Allen Robinson at number 10 because I have more just assurance about putting him in my top 10. You know, out there in Chicago, you have Mitch Trubisky, who obviously has accuracy issues, to say the least.
Alan Keller.
But with that, Allen Robinson had 98 receptions on 154 targets with 6 yards shy of 1,500 yards with 7 touchdowns. That is a Julio type of year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just good stuff. And plus, you have a track record with Allen Robinson. I mean, he's 26 years old, but he's already had 6 full seasons. He's still young. He can still, you know, play and get things done. We obviously know what he did in Jacksonville with his 1,400-yard and 14 touchdown year. That was several years ago, but just looking in the past 2 years, I think that with the uptick that he had last year in yards and targets and touchdowns and yards per catch and whatnot, with the offensive situation that he's in, Mitch Trubisky is well aware that he has to do better. He is well aware of that. And I just think that with the situation that Allen Robinson is in, compared to a guy like Kenny Golladay, who had a phenomenal season on a 3-game winning Lions, like it's incredible to see what he did. But his catch percentage is super low, like 55%, 56%. That's not something that I really want to have. But again, he had a couple of other receivers that had 1,000 yards. Like, that's not something that I really want to, I guess, draft. I don't want to really draft at a high level, you know, when wide receivers are in that situation. But Allen Robinson II, I think that we'll see his name a lot this coming season, and he'll have I won't say he'll have a 1,500-yard year, but he's going to be in a good spot fantasy-wise. He finished 7th in PPR, so we should see him around that area, like 7 to 10.
Right. I think he was solid. I think he definitely, like what you were mentioning in regards to like that 10 spot could have been filled by a few different people. But I'm going to go personally with Amari Cooper. The only reason why he's at 10, he definitely could have went a little bit earlier, but I just think their receiving core is just, it's stacked. I know they paid him, and so you would think, okay, they paid him, they're going to use him, but they also drafted a rookie in their first round. First round pick, the first pick of the draft, they drafted a rookie. And so that's another guy that they're going to use. They're definitely going to use the man that they paid a couple years ago in their running back. So I just think it's going to be a lot of mouths to feed. And I think in this situation with Dak being – he's getting some experience, but he's not as experienced as like what we were speaking about when we were talking about Chris Godwin. Like, Tom Brady knows how to do it. Now Dak is in a situation where it's like, okay, he just got paid. I'm trying to get paid. Zeke wants the ball. Like, this rookie just came through. Like, Michael Gallup is solid too. So like, him trying to figure that out, I think is going to be a learning process. But I do think Amari Cooper may lead the league in touchdowns. I think this team is going to see the red zone more than any other team personally, just with the high-powered offense that they have. I think it'll be right there with like Kansas City. But I think Amari Cooper is definitely a comfortable top 10 option. He definitely can finish above this spot at 10, but this is where I have him because it's more because of Dak. I'm not sure how Dak is going to handle having a loaded team. I think he's been used to being around that 8-8 range. That's just what the Cowboys are used to. But I think for him to take that step forward, there's a lot of pressure on him this year. So I think he would be the reason why Amari would be the edge of the top 10 list.
All right, guys. This is where I think you guys got it wrong. I think you guys picked the wrong wide receiver from the Rams. Number 10, I got Robert Woods. I'm going to tell you. Robert Woods led the NFL in targets last season. He averaged over 9 targets a game. Let's say a guy gets a yard per target. Just off of 9 targets, and if he makes 9 receptions, it's 9 points. He's targeted the whole game. You know what I'm saying? Cooks is gone. Gurley's gone. I think they're going to air it out over there with the Rams. They got a new stadium. And looking at Robert Woods' stats, I mean, this is a sneaky top 10 pick, but this is a good pick right here. 1,100 yards, 90 receptions. The only downfall is he had 2 TDs. And you know, once in the red zone, they will run heavy. Gurley was the option there, but that might change. You know, we might see a difference there. Back-to-back seasons over 1,100 yards. Back-to-back season with 85-plus receptions. Cook gone, Gurley gone again. I just think Robert Woods is the wide receiver with the Rams. I mean, I don't think there's a clear number 1 with the Rams. I really don't. I think Cooper would. I think it's at this point, both of them will put up numbers each game. I will tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
That core is really good. I believe that, if Woods is getting 9 receptions, Cooper might have 5 with 120 yards. I think it almost reminds me of Marvin Jones and Galladay last season. I mean, both of them, those guys will go off. Both will go off together, and I think Robert Woods and the Cooper Kupp, I mean, you can't go wrong. I apologize for saying you guys picked the wrong one, but I just think you can go either or. I think Woods is a strong wide receiver here, and they have a good foundation over there in LA.
Yeah, I think that's right. Right on the money. A Rams wide receiver producing is easy to bet on when it comes to that. I mean, it goes to speak about their pass attempts too. Jared Goff throws the ball like he's afraid of it. Like he has 68 attempts in one game. I mean, just to read off his attempts last year: 39, 28, 38, 68, 49, 24, 37, 31, 41, 18. Wow. 37, 43, 31, 51, 46, 45.
He has 68 in one game?
Yeah.
The game against that shootout in Mexico?
That was in Tampa. That was in Los Angeles against Tampa.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, back when Jameis was a gunslinger. But I mean, they had the third overall pass attempts, 4th best pass yards, and the 7th overall offense last year. I mean, and that Jared Goff. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about like that wasn't even like the best that we've seen of Jared Goff. I mean, overall, he had 626 attempts, 394 completions, over 4,000 yards, almost 5,000 yards. Like it said, if you check out our top 10 quarterbacks, you can see who my sleeper pick was. But yeah, I think the Rams are going to be a great offense to produce those elite wide receivers for sure, just sheer off of pass volume alone. So to recap our top 10, I chose Keenan Allen, Norris with Allen Robinson, Josh with Amari Cooper, and Oppie finishing off with Robert Woods. So now on to our sleeper picks. And just so those people that don't know what a sleeper pick is, it's basically a wide receiver that people throughout redraft leagues or even in your dynasty and keeper leagues aren't really expecting to produce as well. But before we get to that real quick, I just want to mention some guys that fell right outside my top 10 that would still that have a chance of being in that top 10. Allen Robinson, Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, OBJ, Juju Smith-Schuster, all these guys definitely have the upside to be a top 10 wide receiver. Just projection-wise and stats didn't look like they would be that top, for me at least. That's why we have 4 guys on the panel, and hopefully we can get the whole fantasy crew out in a video soon to come. and for you guys to see all of our opinions clash. Anyways, to our sleeper picks, my sleeper pick, and this is a guy that I'm going to bat for. He's my number one sleeper, just right over David Montgomery. If you check out our last video, you know what I'm talking about. But Brandon Cooks. I'm going Brandon Cooks because he took DeAndre Hopkins is gone off the Texans. Now I'm not saying he took DeAndre Hopkins' role or job, but the targets are there. D-Hop had 150 some targets last year. I mean, they got to go to someone. And even if Brandon Cooks has 120 maybe, he has had over 1,000-yard season, and he's been on 5 different teams. So we know no matter what quarterback's throwing to him, he's going to produce. So I think Brandon Cooks, for me, sleeper of the year. Everybody is sleeping on him. He went to the Texans. He didn't end up, with a 3-3. He didn't go to the Redskins with Dwayne Haskins kind of just floating the ball to the middle of nowhere. He went to Deshaun Watson, who has been throwing to D-Hop for years. He went to a wide receiving core that everybody loves to get injured. I mean, they must love it because Will Fuller's gone half the season. Kenny Stills shows up, only been there half a year, he got hurt. I mean, we know Brandon Cooks has dealt with injuries before, with concussions, with different stuff going on like that. But even then, he's produced. Even then, he's been a top-tier wide receiver. Now that he's on the Texans, I don't see anything changing from that. So, yeah, I think his skill, his talent at the wide receiver position it shouldn't be doubted when it comes to Brandon Cooks. So, overall, I think if you can snag, and you could get him in the 7th round, guys. 7th round for a potential wide receiver 1 slot, I'm definitely okay with paying that.
I guess the real question is, Cook's played with Breeze, he's played with Brady, he's played with Goff, and now he's playing with Watson. I was just trying to figure out, why is he going to move around a lot? He's playing with all these great quarterbacks. I mean, what's good? There has to be a lack of consistency or a lack of trust these quarterbacks don't have with Cook because he's not staying long with these guys. New Orleans, Michael Thomas blossomed, and they say, hey, see ya, Cooks. Cooks ended up with Tom Brady. I thought that was game over. 1 season with the Patriots, gone. So something's, I don't know. The cards are not lining up. I'm just.
Well, I would also like to point out, Brandon Cooks has also been to 2 Super Bowls and helped those teams get there. So I'm not too sure exactly why. It could be something with the injury. It could just be the draft class that follows him. We can look at the different teams, like you said, with the Saints. Michael Thomas was an up-and-coming wide receiver, and they got him, and that was solidified. And so they didn't really need both Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas. And then the Patriots, I remember that. There was a whole thing with contracts associated. We know the Patriots don't like to pay their offensive players. They'll pay the defensive guys better than – yeah. But then he goes to the Rams, and the Rams find stock in Robert Woods for cheap off of coming from the Buffalo Bills. And then they have Cooper Kupp, who's just growing into this great wide receiver that they didn't even need to draft. So, I mean, overall, I'm not sure if it's just, that happening. Yeah. So that's who I'm going with my sleeper pick.
Great. Okay. He's not a number 1 because of his size, period, point blank. The sleeper pick that I am going with, who may or may not be a sleeper on your radar, to be honest, but A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is my sleeper pick. He was a rookie, he had 1,000-yard season, had 8 touchdowns on the year. That is a great rookie year, to start off his career. Now, the one reason why I put him as a sleeper is because he has Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback. He is not someone that I would expect to, I guess, allow his receivers to really flourish, because we haven't seen that, even when he was in Miami, he had Devontae Parker. The only time we've seen anything great out of Devontae Parker was last year when Ryan Tannehill left. But I still think with the talent that A.J. Brown has, he's going to be he's obviously the number one out there. And I just think that he's going to have another great year. He's a big target. Honestly, when you look at him play, I look at him and I'm like, this guy's like 6'3", 6'4", but he's 6 feet tall, But when you see him play, he just plays big. And he runs like a 4.4 and a 40. He plays faster than that. So I just think, like, sometimes the numbers can be misleading, but when you watch this guy play, he's just a great talent. I will say that he was 50% in the 3 games in the postseason, with having 10 targets, only 5 catches. That's something that, I mean, honestly, when you look at the postseason performance by the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry was doing all of the work. So you didn't have to rely too much on A.J. Brown, but I just think that he's just a great piece to have in Tennessee right now.
Right. I think he's taking advantage of the opportunities that he's gotten, because he doesn't get too much thrown his way, but he makes very good use of what he gets. But for me, my sleeper is Darius Slayton, New York Giants. So personally, I think about how the New York Giants had injuries all over the place throughout their whole season. Daniel Jones comes into the situation, does well, but pieces all around him are falling apart. And then Darius Slayton steps in, and him and Jones have a connection right away. So they finish out the season with each other. And Darius, I think, he played 9 games that he started. He started 9 games and had 8 touchdowns in those 9 games. 740 yards. So a full season with Daniel Jones and having all of those weapons back, I think they have the best camaraderie with each other. I think he's going to be the number one option for Daniel Jones because of that. There's plenty of talent everywhere else. The tight end position, the 2 other wide receivers, Daniel Jones can run, but I think Darius Slayton is going to be a serious option to be a serious breakout, someone that people aren't really looking towards, but I think another late round grab. So he's actually getting picked up around the 100th pick in the draft. So, yeah, some value there.
You pick him going with Antonio Brown. He's in the league. You get 84. You get him back in the league. I would like you could probably pick up Antonio Brown after the draft rounds and probably free agency. If he's sitting there, grab him. I mean, keep him in the bench. You're just not going to know what happened. But in all honesty, guys, to be honest, with the sleeper pick, I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel. With Emmanuel Sanders out the team, Deebo Samuel is now the number 1 wide receiver for the 49ers. And I don't know if you guys watched the Super Bowl, but he was running the ball in the Super Bowl. He was running for some big yards against the Chiefs. I know there was a couple possessions. They went back to back to back, and he was picking up 10 yards. So, I mean, you look at dual threat. If they keep playing the cards, I mean, you might see him in the backfield a couple of times, but I think Deebo Samuel's last season as a rookie, there were some monster games that he had. And prior to, I think what slowed him down was Emmanuel Sanders came onto the team, and obviously the targets weren't there. But now that he's back as a clear number 1 for the 49ers, and I'm sure Jimmy Garoppolo is, practicing hard this offseason after a horrible performance in the Super Bowl. And they got George Kittle there. I think it's going to open up the floor for Deebo Samuel, and I think Deebo Samuel will be actually he might not even go drafted, to be honest. He might be late rounds, but it's a good wide receiver to have, just because he would be a wide receiver 1 and possibly a flex start in deep leagues. So Deebo Samuel would be my pick.
Good stuff.
If Antonio Brown comes back, dude, you get it the moment you get it.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, with Deebo Samuel, his ADP is actually 55, so he's looking at mid-5th round, anywhere from 5th to 6th round. So if your league isn't drafting them, you should be winning that league. And we're here to help you win your leagues in a flash. So some other sleeper picks that you can look out for. I actually have another New York Giants sleeper pick with Golden Tate. You could pick him up in the 12th round. He did phenomenal out of the slot last year. And if he can remain healthy through the year, Danny Dimes is going to put the balls where he needs them. Marvin Jones is always a steal and a value through the draft. Jarvis Landry, you can get him in the 6th round. He fills a great role on the Browns. Another guy, John Brown with the Bills. We saw the rapport that he had with Josh Allen. So he can fill that flex or wide receiver 2 spot for you pretty easily. And personal favorite, Mike Williams. With his size and his physical ability, he can go up and grab those balls. And with Justin Herbert hopefully taking the helm, there's going to be those balls to grab going out deep or going out long for Mike Williams to use his physical ability to grab them. So, and we kind of saw Mike Williams, take over as the wide receiver 2 last year and fill that role effectively. So, yeah, and that does it for our top 10 wide receivers and sleeper picks. Thank you guys for watching, and please check us out. If you're watching on YouTube, check out our podcast. If you check us out on our podcast, watch us on YouTube. We also have a Twitter now at Fantasy FB, Flash Fantasy FB, and we'll be posting our top 10 wide receiver list on there for any of you guys to check it out. So if you want to go ahead and I don't know what they even call it, like, follow, tweet us, I don't know. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. I'm just kidding. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at the Flash Fantasy. And go ahead, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment on one of the posts. We'll try and answer you as fast as possible. And yeah, thanks for watching. Is your fantasy league doing a draft? Do you want to make it look super professional? Do you want to make your draft the best draft possible? Well, then go check out our friends at draftwithredzone.com. And you can even use our referral code to get you $10 off. That's draftwithredzone.com/discount/flash. That will help you guys get you $10 off and help us grow in our fan base. So go ahead and check it out.